So we have our two types of percussion samples now. We have our kind of recording here, and then we also have our take lanes here of stuff we've synthesized. So maybe let's start thinking about how we can use this and fit it into the drum group. So for now I've muted these because they sound kind of out of place here. And I just want to find some way to take some of these samples and place them in there. So maybe let's find a section first of some interesting sounds. Let's solo this here. So this might work. I'm just gonna make this right here for myself. These sounds are always nice. Oh, that's my voice. And then this is actually another section that might work. So what we can do is we can just take these two clips we've created and right click them and then slice to multi-sample and slice based on onsets here. Make the threshold a bit higher, I guess. Create 41 slices. Yeah, that seems fine. Options looks good. Bounce and slice. And then do the same for this here. Slice it to a multi-sample. Some more slices, and now we've got these two samplers here with percussion sounds in them that we've recorded, and now we can use these to sequence them. So let's maybe group this here and just call it sound design stuff or something, and just move it to the top so it doesn't get in our way, and instead focus on sampling these two sounds. So maybe let's start with a more hi-hat like thing here. So what I want to do is I want to take all of these, because right now if we solo this track and just listen to it, it'll basically be that sequence here. So what I want to do instead is that I want to turn this into a kind of drum machine sequencer. So I'm going to take all these and going to warp them all to a really short time, even shorter, and then move them before the clip starts so we don't actually hear them, and then click this drum machine mode. So now we've folded this, and we only get to select basically the notes that actually have a sample available in them. You can see this is just has loaded all these different samples here into this multi-sampler. So and now we can just draw some rhythms in here. So let's maybe listen to our drum loop first. Maybe we just want the basic sound of the thing. Okay, these definitely need to be louder. Let's put a limiter on it for safety here, in case any one of these. Like this. So turn this up, and then just sequence this. So something like this, and maybe change the envelope to make it more percussive here. And now we've generated our own little percussive loop based on samples we've recorded on our own. So let's just listen to that in solo. Just some interesting layers to add some texture. So now let's use the other one. I think we can use this quite nicely for fills and stuff. Maybe move this over here, and once again, just select all these, warp them into a really short amount of time, and just drag them so they're outside of the clip. And then we can just fold this. We've already folded it, and these are probably too many. I should have probably made it so records a bit less, but I guess we can just live with that for now. We can actually try to exploit that later on, you'll see, maybe by just randomizing some nodes and stuff. Maybe let's draw these little... Okay, this is also way too quiet. Let's draw these little rolls in here that kind of always roll into the snare drum or something. You know, this kind of thing. Or into the offbeat before the snare drum. And then we can just copy this over and kind of move these around so that triggering different samples each. Maybe hit R to reverse some of them, that kind of stuff. Okay. And then also maybe just place some on these simple 16th notes here, or whatever these are. I think they're 16th notes. Make sure we snap them to the grid here. And just select them and copy them over. And then we can just kind of move these around here. And kind of decide when we want different nodes for this or something. Maybe. And then we can start adding some, there's this node effect called randomize. So I'm just gonna turn on pitch randomization. So this kind of selects different nodes within an octave or something in both ways, I suppose. Quantize it, and then it'll just trigger different nodes for every time this repeats. Also maybe randomize velocity a bit. And then use velocity to open up the envelope a bit, so longer decay time or something. And also turn the attack down. And then let's make this all a bit louder. And now we have these interesting percussive layers that we've generated. This is actually a bit much for my taste, to be honest. So what I might want to do is I just put a tool on here and just automate this thing's volume a bit. So maybe something like this. Or just draw something in with the draw tool, actually might be more interesting. So make it less just to create some more space in the mix. Now we've just generated some percussive stuff. We'll be kind of tweaking these more as we actually focus on writing the drum loop properly more. This is still just the sound design section of the course. Maybe group these Foley samplers, call this hi-hats, just to keep an overview because we're starting to get so many different layers here. It might make sense to start worrying a bit more about keeping the project fine, nice and clean, so that we know where to look for what and stuff. So that's the first technique, just using the slice to multi-sample and samplers and then just sequencing these manually. And then the next one will be a bit more focused on sample chopping and kind of editing audio and so on.